The bravest thing that I have done is actually feel what I didn't want to feel. That's been the most courageous thing that I have ever done as a man, is actually experience the stuff that I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel this emotion that is here, that's fucking with me. I don't want to feel it, but now let me feel it. That's courage.
You are, how do you describe yourself? You're a copywriter, you write about marketing and writing and mindset and spirituality and self-improvement. Is that, I mean, it's hard to describe what it is you do and who you actually are. How do you think about yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that I would answer that question is, I feel like there's a face that I present to the world, and then there's a face that's more internal, right? So for me, the face that I present to the world is like the copywriter. So I got into the online marketing space when I was like 14, 15. I'm 31 now. So it's been spent a lot of time in the space. But over the course of my marketing career, I was always obsessed with wanting to crack the secret to making money, because money represented freedom to me. And I was so trapped in a body that felt like it was a prison that I wanted freedom. I wanted an escape. And money was how I visualized it at the time, that, hey, if I make a lot of money, then I'll be able to experience freedom. And that was true in some aspects, but the more money that I made, I remember when I started getting all the fancy toys and I was in an amazing spot overlooking like a beautiful city. And I was like, fuck, I still feel exactly the same. Life is still black and white. What the fuck is going on here? Right? So as a result of having those experiences, I was so lit up with wanting to find something that I knew existed, but I didn't know what it was. And that really sent me down the road of spirituality and really getting more into my body, getting centered. Because like even now, my tendency is to just go elevator straight to the head and just hang out there and just, live my entire life over there. But then I miss out on all the life and all the joy that is available here. So to answer your question, I kind of had various experiences that kind of opened me up to the deeper depth, the deeper dimension of life that is already available right here. And when I had that experience, it completely touched me at the deepest of levels. And I was like, fuck, this is what I've been seeking all along. And I had no idea this is what I was seeking. So when I had that experience, I was like, I got to figure this out. So I went deeper down the spirituality rabbit hole. And for me, with my writing, I just write about what I'm going through in real time. So whether it's spirituality, whether it's mindset, whether it's marketing, whether it's business, I view it as if I'm not writing to anybody else, but as if I'm just writing to myself in real time. So that's why my writing is kind of all over the place, because I've been a little bit all over the place.
Do you enjoy writing? Have you been writing all your life? Did you always want to be a writer, creative in that way?
No, I remember I hated writing. Even to this day, I don't really think of myself as a writer, but it almost feels like I'm having a conversation with reality and I'm transcribing that conversation as opposed to writing something from scratch.
And your process, I mean, I know you're a big advocate of deep work, like spending 3-4 hours a day, like locked in, notifications off. Is that's, you get into a flow state and it just comes through you? Because that's how I experience it when I see your writing. I mean, I understand there's an art and craft to making it sound simple, and just like, it's just pouring out of you. And I'm sure that I know that you had a lot of craft to it. But I guess I'm curious, because I'm somebody who spends a lot of time writing as well. What is your process? Does it just come out of you? Is sometimes it a struggle? Like, how's it work?
Yeah, when I'm doing my best writing, it feels like I'm surfing the waves of life, right? And I feel very attuned to the waves. It's almost like I'm sensing in real time. I'm sensing something invisible and I'm making it visible through the written craft. But then there's other days let's say I do my best writing in the early morning because the world is very quiet and I can kind of center myself and actually write. But let's say I don't get writing time in the morning and I try to do it after I've exposed my senses to the world, like in the afternoon, then I'm just like eating shit. I'm just eating waves. That's literally how it feels. Like I feel like I'm just slightly misaligned. And as a result of that, the writing doesn't flow as well. And I feel like I'm forcing it, which really is not the fun experience. For me, writing it almost feels like a spiritual process, even when I'm not writing about anything spiritual, because when I'm surfing the waves of life, it actually feels like I'm discovering things live through the writing process. I'm even surprising myself. And that's what I really love. It feels like a live inquiry that's happening through the written word.
You said that you live up here, or that was your tendency, which is like, I guess, up in your head, but also you went this way, which is it's like connected to something up there. And it makes me think, because, my field of study, which is, Reichian psychotherapy, and the model of the 5 character patterns, and the one character pattern they call the schizoid, or the leaving pattern. And that is their tendency, is that they leave, right? But because they leave, many people who are this pattern, like they do have access to like other dimensions of reality. So generally they're very smart. They can tend towards hyper rationality because they live in their head, but also there very often is a deep spiritual connection. Like a lot of ayahuasca shamans, particularly in the Santo Daime tradition, like they're all schizoids, and almost all the sort of schizoids and I know it's a kind of pathologizing where I'm a psychopath, if it makes you feel any better. They've renamed them because it's aggressive pattern, but it's a defense, right? It's a reaction, adaptation to whatever happened to us in our childhood. But it's really interesting to me that you realized that you were kind of living up there. And again, I don't know if that's exactly your pattern, but it just made me think of this. But you had the realization that you needed to come back into your body. And that's not something I hear a lot from the people who are very fixated on mindset, because of course I come from the somatic world, and I'm like, no, you got to be in your fucking body. That's where all the action is. Like that's where the intelligence is. And if you're not flowing from your body up, it's like it arises from the body into the mind. However, there is shit up there that you can connect to that is pretty deep. And it sounds like you're connected to both, or you had that realization. Because I know you talk about breath work. I know you talk about bioenergetics. When did you come to all this? When did you realize all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're bang on with your analysis, because for me, the reason why I spent a lot of time in my mind is because the early childhood environment was very unpredictable. And at any given moment, like violence could occur. So the only safety that I had was to like run up into my mind and like create some sort of comfort zone or safety net. Right. So I really lived in my imagination. It was like pretty much my only source of relief from like the early environment. So I spent a lot of time in my mind, and I thought I could spend the entirety of my mind and live happily ever after. Right? That was my thinking, because I was like really trying to avoid the world, because the world was essentially the projection of my early childhood home. I had projected onto the world. So I'm like, the world is unpredictable. The world is scary. The world is, I don't want to live in the world. I don't want to interact with these people. Fuck this. Right? So that's how I approached it. And then I made a very nice home in my mind. It was beautiful. I had the fancy furniture, the cool things. It was dope. And then it just felt like something was missing, and like life just felt like a continuous dress rehearsal, right? I felt like things are unfolding, but I'm not fully there to experience it. The experiences aren't transforming me, right? Like on paper, people would be like, dude, you did all this crazy stuff. And I would be like, it doesn't even feel like it happened to me. It just felt like I just watched a movie of it.
Well, if you're not in your body, you actually can't feel it. Literally.
Exactly. Exactly. I remember the first time that I felt my heart and I felt the support that the belly provides. And I was like, holy fucking shit. You mean to tell me I've lived my entire life without experiencing this? It was like opening up to a new dimension. So for me, there was like a lot of juice that was sucked out of just living from the mind. And I knew there was something more because I would have occasional whiffs of presence where I would feel more of my heart and more of the support and more of the stability. And it would just take my breath away. And I would be like, what is that? And it felt like this love affair with God that was starting to arise. And I was like, there's something here. There's something just below the surface that I can sense occasionally, but I don't know what it is. And with me, the reason, even with deep work, the reason I had such a fascination with deep work, because deep work in that flow state felt very similar to what I would experience occasionally through the whiffs of presence. So drawing those two parallels was opening up to a new world for me. And bioenergetics, when I first did it, I was like, dude, what the hell are these guys doing? Just running around screaming. My mind, obviously, in the mind, right? But then it was really a fear response because I was afraid to actually lose control or give up the control of the mind. But the more that I started to do the bioenergetics and the more I started to feel the body, I started to wake up with this level of joy that I had never known before. There was a lot of pain as well, a lot of difficulty, heartache, grief, sadness, anger, frustration, murderous rage, all those emotions. But underneath it, there was a well, there was a fountain of joy and ecstasy and peace and fulfillment and satisfaction. And I was like, holy shit. This entire time, I've been using my mind to project this externally and then use things as the permission slip to experience this. But really, the source, I would read that the source is within you and I'll be like, yeah, sounds good, makes for a good self-help book, but how does it help me? But when I actually started to experience the fountain that is within us and the way that it touched me, I was like, now my experience is actually touching me and transforming me. Whether I'm at the top of the world or whether I'm at the bottom of the ocean, it doesn't really matter what the experience is. As long as I'm in my body, there's fruits that are produced by having that experience, and that in return makes me a greater being.
I love the way you talk about it. It's so interesting because obviously this is what my work is all about. I'm trying to help people feel and come back into their bodies and release their, blockages, their stuck emotions, their rage, their pain, their fear. But it's interesting because when I work with people who have your structure, your pattern, talk therapy, particularly for that structure, really has a limit because they're already so smart and they can get it and they can figure it out. Oh, this happened to me. Yeah, I know I'm this. Okay, I got it. But nothing changes, right? They have to come into their bodies. And so I always prescribe them bioenergetics and trauma release exercises, and there's other things. But it's interesting that that was your intuition, that's what you were drawn to. Somehow you knew that was the place that you were going to find your healing and find your aliveness. So and you've done what, I mean, you've committed, you made, because, I know when we had dinner, and you were talking about some of the other things you were doing, you've really made a commitment to healing yourself. How's that been? How's that journey? I mean, you just talked about it a little bit, but how has that journey been for you?
Absolutely. I would say the last 5 years have felt like a dark night of the soul for the last 5 years. It's felt like I've really had to go through the depths of my consciousness. The way that I describe it is I felt like I spent the bulk of my life just collecting experiences and storing them inside my body. And when I started to open up to the body, there was a lot of pain and a lot of grief. And it's felt like I've been swimming in the sewer of my consciousness for the last 5 years and having to actually go through those experiences and release them. And by doing so, it's opened up to, incredible feelings of joy and ecstasy and really a deep sense of connection and really a deep fulfillment. It feels like the deepest quenching of my heart's true desire is actually being fulfilled. In the beginning, it felt like, dude, I need to like figure this out. But now it's starting to feel like I have no choice. What I'm discovering and what I'm going through is so precious and so real that it's got a deep grip on my heart that there is no other option. I'm so fired up. I'm like, I need to get to the bottom of this. I need to explore. I need to live my life in an open-ended way with curiosity and openness so I can actually truly live. Because I spent the bulk of my life just existing, and I know how painful that is. When I was just existing, it didn't feel painful. It just felt black and white. But now in comparison, I was like, dude, that's a completely different life. I didn't even know, I couldn't even see the prison bars to my own cell until I got a whiff of freedom. And in comparison, I was like, whoa, it's quite literally night and day.
Well, I really relate to you there because once I discovered this, it was like, what else is there? What else is there to fucking do? And I'm not going to Mars, okay, there's Mars, there's space. I'm not an astronaut. There's no new land to sail to. I guess I could dive to the bottom of the ocean, but the place of adventure to me is within. Mm-hmm. And that is the great adventure. And I think that's one of the things that's happening right now. And it's going on for a while, but like that, for men who want to visit lost lands or places that they've never been or discover new territory, it's all internal. And what you find in there, it's astonishing to me. It's astonishing to me what came out of me when I started doing this work and expressing myself and coming into my body and feeling my rage and contacting my pain. People can't understand what's inside them till they have that experience and it actually comes out of them. It's so, the intensity of it is it's overwhelming and it's shocking. And so it's great. I'm saying this because it's great to hear you, because you have a big audience. You're talking to a certain kind of person. You're working with entrepreneurs, young guys. I assume you have an audience of young guys, and you're communicating these ideas to them. And it's great. It's great that it's, I don't know, out there and you're sharing your story like that. So thank you.
Well, you've been an incredible inspiration for me. That's why this, like, coming on your show is such a big deal for me. It's like, I've been watching your stuff since the first Tate interview. Mm-hmm. And I've been watching, the way that you work, the way that you hold yourself, the way that you embody a deep masculinity, but also at the same time, you're so in touch with your heart and the playfulness and that combo between the two. I'm like, dude, when I look into like the mainstream, quote unquote, I'm like, man, David is the fucking pinnacle. He's fucking doing it. Right. So for me, you've been an incredible inspiration.
Well, thanks for that. It's good. It's good to have that. That reflection. I'm having an impact on people, and especially somebody like you, who's young guy and doing the work. You said something earlier, and this is a big topic, I think. But I grew up. I didn't get a computer till I was 29. Right. I didn't get a phone. I was in my 40s, I guess.
Wow.
So I grew up in a different generation. When I was a kid, we had 3 channels on the TV. And, you grew up in the internet age, and there's a way in which, in life, we have an avatar. Like before the internet, we're still an avatar, a mask. Some people are more conscious of it than others. But now that all of us have an online persona, most of us, and it's definitely not 100% who we are. We talk about being authentic, but I can be authentic, but as soon as I turn the camera on, something subtle changes. I'm striving to be as authentic as I can be. And I've spent a lot of fucking time in front of the camera, but it's not exactly the same. And so there is an affectation, sometimes unconscious, sometimes conscious. But again, I'm bringing this up because it seems to me, one, you have an awareness of that. And two, that you have this like persona. this avatar, Tej Dosa. I mean, even your name and your voice and the videos you put out and all of it, it creates it's a character. I mean, I know that it's you and I've met you but they're not the same, but they are the same. How do you think about that in the world, you know, and in terms of being authentic, and what does that mean? Like, how do you think about it? And I know that's a bigger question. Mm-hmm. Like, we could take that into the spiritual realm because it really gets probably to the root of a lot of things.
Absolutely. One thing I noticed about myself is, like, let's say when I get on a podcast like this, right? I notice, like, within the first 20 minutes, since it's being recorded, I tend to project my inner critic onto the audience, which is really projecting my parents onto the audience. And in return, the way that it impacts me is I become the small little boy for like the first 20 minutes. And I like, you know, my body language will be like this, and I'll contract a little bit. And then 20 minutes into the conversation, when I calm down a little bit, when I feel my feet, when I feel the presence, then it feels like there's no podcast and things can really flow and can really unfold in a real way. And that's when I truly feel like, whether the character is positive or negative, there is no character. There's something deeper that's moving through me, a deeper intensity. And that's when I feel the most authentic. So for me, Tej Dosa and the whole thing that comes along with it is in some ways designed to appeal to a specific target, right? With the background in copywriting and all that stuff. But really, the stuff that has had the deepest impact on people is when I'm not in the way, right? When I get in the way, whether it's writing or copywriting or building things or making content, whatever it is, when I try to help somebody, I never can help them. But the more I get out of my own way and allow the intensity to take over, that's what actually ends up helping people. And that's what they become addicted to. I use the word addiction, but I don't mean it in a negative way. What I mean is, I think the greatest service that we can do when we create content is to act as a mirror that reflects the qualities that people already possess inside them, but may not have access to. They can start to experience those through the content. And in return, they think they like the content, but really they like the way that they feel. They like themselves better. So for me, I leverage content as a way to actualize in people certain qualities of themselves that they have long forgotten or long suppressed. But when they read a piece of writing or a piece of content, it allows them to experience those qualities again and come more to life. So for me, the content is really designed to make more of my audience actually come alive. So many people, for instance, will come to me because my content is designed in a certain way to appeal to a certain target that's usually interested in money and entrepreneurship. And they'll be like, yeah, I came to your stuff to learn about copywriting, and I did, and that's great. But the real juice that I unlocked was the spiritual stuff. So I know if I lead too much with the spiritual stuff up front, it's going to not be attractive to the audience that I'm going after, the audience that I think really fucking needs it. So I leverage more of the character there to appeal to those people. And when they come into the ecosystem, I give them upfront what they think they want, but on the back end, I give them what I think they truly need and truly yearn for on a very deep level. And as a result of that, it creates this energy of, one, goodwill, but two, people become almost like, the emails I'll receive sometimes, people are like, in majority of the emails, people say, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. And I'm like, dude, I'm a marketer. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Right. But it's really speaks to the effect of when I get out of my own way, something deeper actually flows through me, which is very real and very precious. So for me, the character is something that I gotta play, I gotta invent, I gotta keep. But once people actually enter the ecosystem, I try to kill the character and actually allow what is real to come through me. And that's what's had the greatest impact on people thus far.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel it. Danny Miranda, our mutual friend, I saw him tweet it out. Tej Dosa is going to be one of the great writers of a generation. I was like, and I like Danny, and was like, who's Tej Dosa? So I look you up and I start reading, and it didn't take me very long to think that Danny might be right, because it's exactly what you said. Every time, and I've read, I'm fucking old. I've read it all. I haven't read it all, but I've read a lot, and I've explored a lot. But I'm always impacted by your writing, by your videos. Recently, your Instagram videos. Yeah, they always, I don't know, they inspire me. They make me feel a certain way. There's a vibration that you have that is really impactful. And I love that what you said, like you're offering something, here's how to make money copywriting, but on the back end, what you're really offering is spirituality. But it's not, you could say it's a bait and switch. It's a pejorative way to say it. It's actually not that, because anybody who's attracted to you, and, for the copywriting, for the writing, for the skills that you can help them develop, they can feel there's something else going on. And maybe they're not totally aware of what it is, but you're right. That is the thing that they actually want. And I guess, and this is my philosophy, it's like the spiritual part, solve for that. Like, get right with that, understand yourself there, make that connection. And then the copywriting, the making money, the starting of the business, that's just a byproduct of that. Is that that's how you think about it?
Absolutely. And I also noticed the shift to make it even like practical. I noticed when I first started writing copy, I read all the books, I took all the courses, but my copy was dry. It had no life in it because I was dead, right? So how could I write anything with life in it when I'm dead, right? So then when I actually started doing things like bio and I started to get the energy moving in my body, I started to come more alive. And what I noticed was I was still doing the same things. I was still writing, long form sales letters at the time, like 10,000 plus word sales letters. But I felt like I was injecting life into the words that I was writing. And that's when the conversion rate actually started to take off. And people would respond to an advertisement and saying, there's something different about this ad. They were sensing something in the words. They're like, this makes me feel, I know it's an ad. I understand it's an ad, but there's something here that's making me feel a certain way. I feel understood. I truly feel supported, right? So for me, the unlock, even in a practical level, was even if you do want copywriting, even if you do want marketing, it's best to come from the invisible field where all is connected and actually create from there, because that's what sends ripples all throughout the ecosystem and impacts people on a deeper level. I think content and copy and business is really just the transfer of energy. It's the transfer of state, right? So you take a feeling or you take a quality of being, you turn it into words. And then when somebody consumes those words, they experience that quality of being. So that's, to me, is what writing is all about. It's the transfer of a state of being as opposed to just words on a screen.
It's powerful, inspiring. As you're talking, I'm trying to stay in the interview, but I'm like thinking, it's like, what do I got to do? What's next for me? Because it really does. Yeah, I can feel myself being reoriented in the moment. Again, I know all these things that you're saying, but there is a way that you say it that's very very impactful, very playful. It kind of goes right in, and it's the simplicity of the language. How is it for you to have become a role model, a teacher? You have fans, you have people writing you emails saying that they love you. Was that a transition? Because I'm sure there was a point where you were kind of in obscurity, and then all of a sudden your email is exploding and people want to know you, people want to talk to you, you're having an impact. How was that transition for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What's interesting is the reason I got into copywriting when I was like 14 or 15 is because I was like super introverted and super shy. And I was like, oh, I finally discovered something that will allow me to make money where I can just hide behind my computer and just write, right? So when I started writing and people started writing back and this transition period happened, it was, and it still is, very difficult for me. My tendency is to just deflect. It's almost like the hardest thing for me is to actually receive the love and to actually let it touch me and melt me on a deep level. Right.
That's still the hardest thing for you now?
Yeah. Like even to this day, I would say that's like more difficult for me to do. Right. There's like some sort of barrier that will exist between me and the people where I try to keep them at arm's distance almost. Again, it's like the early childhood pattern at play, right? It's like, okay, you know, I feel you, I trust you, but maybe just stay over there. Like, don't get too close. So I see that and I recognize that. But when I have allowed the love to actually enter, it has melted me, David, at a very deep level. And a part of me is scared to actually allow it in more fully because I feel like I won't exist anymore. That identity will melt in the presence of that love. So a part of me builds and keeps that wall up in order to avoid melting the identity that I believe I need to flourish in the world.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying all this. It's funny because the schizoid, right? The fundamental issue is of existence, because life was so scary when they were young, and they felt unsafe, and you feel unsafe when you're young. You sense like not just I could die, because you don't really have a concept of death when you're young. It's like, it's a kind of, I won't exist. And if there's an absence of love, you actually don't like get the experience of existence without love, without attention, without mirroring. You don't know that you only know you exist as a child in relationship to what's mirrored back to you. And if you're not getting consistent mirroring that's loving and gentle and tender, it fucks with your whole sense of existence. So it would make sense, if that was your wounding, that letting love in would actually be a threat to your defense. And the image would be, if I let it in, my whole existence is threatened, or I won't exist. It's going to annihilate me in some way. It's such a, it's sad in a way for the child, but it's beautiful that you have awareness around that. And I guess you're working on it. Well, it'll come up. I mean, you're going to get into a relationship and your woman's gonna be like, what the fuck, bro? And you'll have to go through it. That's what happened for me. Cause I can relate to that. I don't have the exact same wounding, but yeah, I didn't trust love. For me, it was a little bit different because my mom was more, narcissistic. So it was like love and being used. That was the image that I have. So if I let in the love, I'm going to be manipulated. I'm going to be used. They're going to have control. I won't have autonomy. I won't have any freedom. And so I would always keep love away, keep women away, because as soon as I let them in, I didn't understand, because I was still in the young place, that I actually had autonomy. I could be with love and still be free, still have my boundaries, still say no, and everything would be okay. So, well, I mean, you're doing it on some level. It's happening. I mean, I guess that's the other thing. I always feel like the things that we do in our life, the choices we make around our career and the things that we're focused on, and drawn to in some unconscious way, or from the higher self place, it's actually like there's a force that's always trying to guide us towards healing and wholeness, and that we live in this, video game, and we play things out, and we have, careers, and we do things, but really underneath it all, we're just trying to find ourselves and heal ourselves.
100%. There's this Rumi line that really resonates with me, and it's like, it's all rigged, everything ... in your favor, so there is nothing to worry about. And when I first heard that, it really put into perspective the totality of my life, because like you said, everything made sense. Like the decision to go into copy, the decision to go into business, what I was seeking, what I was yearning for, it all made sense. But also, what's wild to me is when I have these stories inside my mind telling me how reality is going to play out that are built through that early childhood programming. And then when I allow myself the openness and the curiosity to actually check it out live in this moment, and how the experience of this moment is radically different than what that young kid thinks is going to happen. And the recalibration that starts to occur as a result, like, wait a minute, are you telling me that this program, what it's been telling me, is not the actual truth of what's actually happening and been happening? So the reason I bring that up is because, related to love, I remember when I first started dating my girlfriend, I would not allow any love in at all. Right. And I remember like 2-3 months into the relationship, she was like, hey, I think we need to break up. Like, there's nobody there. Like, I can't even like sense you. I can't even feel you. And when I look back at where I was at the start of that relationship and where I am now in the context of that relationship with her, there's been a radical difference as a result of that recalibration. It's almost like you got to jump into the unknown and experience reality freshly by taking a little bit of a risk. And then when you experience reality and you're like, wait a minute, this goes against what my software code is telling me.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're like, holy shit, maybe there's actually space and room for something different here that my mind doesn't know. And that's when I think life truly gets exciting, because now I can't really listen to my mind, at least that part that's like based in early childhood programming, because it only really repeats what it knows and is trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. So for me, it's like, okay, my mind is telling me X, but let's actually see what happens when I do Y. And sometimes Y opens me up to a completely new world. And I feel like I'm actually experiencing more life that I wouldn't otherwise get to experience if I just continuously listen to my mind and the programming that it tells me, you do X, Y is going to happen because your dad was like this or because your mom said this, right? And that really doesn't happen anymore in adulthood. And every time I experience that, I'm always just baffled at how I've spent the entirety of my life believing these programs, taking them to be the truth of reality, only to experience that there's something else here.
Well, that's what we're all doing, and we don't know anything else. I mean, because we essentially grow up. We're in a cult. You're born into a cult. Like all families are essentially cults, and you have no choice but to conform. And you don't know that it's, I mean, maybe your neighbors down there, they do it a little bit different, and you look and you think, oh, that looks nice, but you can't leave. You can't go live with the neighbors. Like, this is your family and you got to deal with it. And so there's no choice but to conform. And then it's exactly what you said. Then you have that programming and you go out in the world and you project it out onto everything, and everything looks the same. And so you end up repeating the same patterns over and over, and you don't know why, and you get frustrated. And most people have no idea that that's what they're doing. They feel like it's the world out there. It's this person. It's that person. It's the government. And sometimes they have a point, but that's not really what's happening. They're co-creating it. But just to get them to that point, just to get them to the point where they understand that it's something inside them, right? And that there's some program that they have. That's a tricky thing to get people to realize, because then you're instantly in the unknown. You have to doubt your own mind. You have to doubt your own experience. You have to doubt the things that you felt certain of. And then you're going to inevitably go through some kind of dark night of the soul. And you're going to have to feel your pain. You're going to have to confront your fear. All of these things you're going to have to do. But then on the other side, you get to reprogram. And I guess that's what I feel like you're also so good at. Like there's reprogramming requires, it requires wisdom. I mean, it's all out there. But it also requires a specific kind of, languaging and at the right moment. I mean, you're talking about how I work. That's all I'm thinking about. I mean, I'm looking at people and I'm just trying to like lead them down this path, trying to box them into this place that they can't get out of. So they have no choice but to like confront that thing. And then once that thing is confronted, then again, you're using language and tone of voice to try to like land the new thing. It's a kind of hypnosis. I mean, but I do it not just with my mind. I'm doing it with my whole body. I mean, that's why, working in person, it's so much more effective because it's like I can use the power of my presence to create a field that can pull people in. But you're doing the same thing through your videos and through your writing. You're really, and I feel it when it's happening. Like I don't know if it's hypnosis, but there's a hypnotic quality, not just to your writing, but also to your tone of voice, the way you look. And it goes right in, like you're helping people reprogram. And like, so I guess the question is like, does that resonate with you, what I'm saying? And how do you think about that?
Yeah. For me, what comes up is I feel like when somebody is in their default state, which I will describe as like their conditioned state, whatever it is, the way that comes across to me is like, it's all conditioning, and usually they're not really in touch with presence, right? So they're in more of an autopilot type of state of mind. And I've been in that state of mind. Sometimes I still go in that state of mind. Last week, I couldn't tell you where I was, right? I was checked out doing a lot of different things, but like I was pretty disconnected, right? So when I'm in that state, or when somebody else is in that state, I notice that they're kind of just recycling furniture and just rearranging things around, and nothing is really happening, right? But then if you can meet that person with a deep level of presence, that presence almost shatters them out of autopilot, and it brings their attention back into the present moment, where they're like, dude, what's been happening? They're almost like drowning. And then they're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? They act like that, right? And now they're back online. So the intensity of the presence really brings people back into the moment, and it wakes them up, and it wakes them up to the true state of their life as it is right now. That in return, from a copy perspective, usually induces some sort of pain, because they're like, holy fuck, I've been drowning this entire time and I had no idea that I was drowning. This fucking sucks. Somebody save me. Somebody help me. I need help. And from a marketing standpoint, pain is the greatest driver. Nobody wants a nice to have. They want to avoid feeling the pain that they're in, right? Mm-hmm. So then when somebody experiences a level of pain, they're looking for a solution. People want to believe. People want a solution. They want support. They want help. They actually want transformation. And now they're actually awake enough to make it happen. So the presence jolts them awake. It gives them their eyes back. And as a result of that, now the reprogramming can occur. Now they're actually on board, whereas before you're just working with a dead corpse. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because I'm also a dead corpse sometimes. Like last week, I was a dead corpse. When presence isn't there, I'm checked out. Something else is running my life for me. It's on autopilot. I'm not really there. And that's also what I notice occurs when a loved one passes away. You know, when you go to a funeral, the presence of death brings into the field this very deep presence, and everybody is like, yo, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to do this. And 2 weeks after the funeral, they usually go back asleep. That's the same level of presence that I try to invoke, wake people up while they're still living and death hasn't arrived yet, because I've felt that experience of death multiple times with near-death experiences, and that's the impact that it had on me. It jolted me awake to my life and the pain that I was actually in without necessarily knowing that I was in this pain. And yeah, it sucks for a couple of years, or it has the potential to suck for a couple of years, because you finally lift up the rug and you see all the trash that you've been storing underneath it, but it actually gives you the ability to clean that trash and in return experience the beauty of what it actually means to be human and the qualities of being human that are fucking incredible. The joy, the ecstasy, the aliveness, the fulfillment, the satisfaction, those qualities are underneath, or they were, at least for me, underneath the trash. And only when I got rid of the trash did I start to experience more of the life that was underneath. But to answer your question, that process is how I think about it. Presence is the greatest healer. It's the greatest agent for transformation. Without presence, I don't really think anything happens. We just rearrange furniture and we just live a cookie cutter existence.
Yes. Yeah, presence is the whole game. I agree with you. That's essentially what it is that I'm trying to do, bring people into the present moment so they can feel, so they're less bound by their past and by their mind. And of course, presence requires that you're in your body. You have to be in your body, and presence requires like tolerating the unknown, because if you're actually in the present moment, you're not trying to control anything. You know, that's where people get afraid. Like, and it's a hard place to tolerate. I mean, of course, we're in and out of presence, just like meditation. I mean, you're in your meditation, your mind is wandering. You notice your mind is wandering, then you come back to the breath. Well, it's the same in life. And I don't know anybody who's present, 24 hours, 365 days a year, but it's just it's actually knowing what it feels like, which feels fucking great, by the way. Even if you're fucking bawling your eyes out and lost in that is presence. Or people say all that, presence is not just sitting, on your meditation cushion, breathing. It's like Michael Jordan, jamming on a fucking team back in the day. Like, the dude is all the way present, and he's fierce, and he's an animal, and it's beautiful. I remember in the documentary, The Last Dance, what didn't he say it when he had the trophy and he was sitting at the piano and he was like, "This is what the Buddha looks like." Something like that. And it was like hard to argue with, and it changes it, because when people hear presence, it's like, oh yeah, it's good, so I guess I got to meditate. It's like, well, or you could go swing an axe. Like, there's a lot of things that can bring you into presence, and it is a practice, but it is about coming into the body. It is about being here all the way, which is, it is scary, because, and why aren't we present? This is the case I make all the time, is you're not present because there's something here in the moment that you don't want to feel, or you're afraid to feel. It's probably an illusion, because there's actually nothing here that's scary, but there's something from your past that's being activated that's making you think that there's something scary. Usually it's just a habit. In your case, if that was your pattern, you're going to leave. In my case, I'm going to become aggressive. What the fuck's going on here? That's my pattern. My wife's pattern is to kind of hold and be quiet and just act placid, like everything's fine. Everything's fine. Like, I don't have a problem. I don't have any feelings. I'm just here. Please don't pay attention to me. It's really interesting, all of our defenses. But I mean, what you just said, there's so much passion behind it. It sounds like this is your mission. Like you're, I mean, I don't know, but like when I hear you say all of that, like, I want to wake people up. Like, I mean, you're obviously not, I mean, I don't know what that looks like to you. I mean, and it doesn't have to look any particular kind of way, but in some way you are like, you're a young guy, but I could see you evolving into some kind of spiritual figure, teacher, writer, communicator, leader. Is that, you think about that? Your relationship to it? Or are you just like, I don't think about that. I'm in the present moment. I'm just doing what I feel. I'm expressing myself. I'm writing whatever comes next.
Yeah. I notice when I think about that, sometimes it will actually stop the flow of that. Right. So for me, even though I'm so fired up, I personally have I would never say I'm here to wake up humanity, because I think sometimes I don't even know if I'm awake, right? So who am I to say I'm here to wake up humanity? I don't know. But I feel like when I'm truly in my purpose or on my mission is when I don't try to do anything and I'm more empty to the energy that is actually flowing through me. So I'm more so interested in surprising myself and seeing how good can this life truly become when I get out of my own way and allow the energy to unfold. So I personally don't want to cage it. I don't want to define it. I don't want to turn it into anything. I just want to live it live and actually experience it and see where it takes me and see what beautiful life it creates as a result.
So this is interesting, because I wanted to ask you about this. Self-help. right? Protocols. You got to do this. You got to get up 5 a.m. You got to take your ice bath. You got to meditate. You got to write for 4 hours. And you got to eat this. And I watch that. And I mean, I get up at 5 a.m. just because I like to get up at 5 a.m. That's not an issue for me. But there's other things, the protocols. And I get overwhelmed. And then I feel bad about not doing them all perfectly. And then my friend Angela, who's deep into human design, is like, yeah, no, you're not like, you have periods of structure, but then you also need periods of like non-structure. And so it's one of the things that's going on in the culture right now where and I understand people want YouTube views and you got these guys, very powerful guys like Alex Hormozi who are, I love the guy. He's amazing. He's an incredible communicator. But at the same time, it's like most people are not Alex Hormozi. And also he's a particular kind of person and most people aren't ever going to match that. And even if they could, that may not be right for them.
Right.
And so there's something I feel like some spell that needs to be broken. I mean, maybe I'm just talking about myself, but I feel like it's out there where it's like, that's not what it is. Like you actually, in what you just said, you got to find the thing inside you. There's a current and you have to follow that. And if that means, I don't know, taking a nap for an hour at 2 p.m., and then just sitting out in the hammock, maybe that's your jam. Maybe that's the best thing for you. And so there's something about that. That's what I'm trying to communicate to people. Again, simply because I know I get caught in that trap. You're nodding. Where does that take you?
Yeah. The way that I even structure my day is actually to solve that exact problem. Because for me, from like the ages of 14 to 20, because I was so desperately trying to crack the code to making money, I read like more self-help books than I care to admit. And I would try to apply the techniques. And it always felt like I was losing my superhero powers by doing that. Right? I'm wearing somebody else's costume and I'm forgetting my own superhero powers as a result. So the way that I overcame that and the way that I still overcome that is I do think there's value in, having designated deep work hours and like being disciplined, having a routine. Of course, that's valuable. But I also think that a large part of the juice that has actually transformed my life has come from the chaos, has come from meeting somebody, having a conversation, which triggers some idea, which sends me on a new adventure. So the way that I structure my day is like you, I like 5 a.m. wake ups for the stillness and the silence. But from 6 a.m. till 12 p.m., I live a very structured life. So it's pretty much like deep work and like closing open loops. And like you do the same thing for those first 6 hours of the day. But from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., I want to embrace chaos. I want to live an unstructured life. I want to actually follow the current that is welling up inside me and see what it wants to do. Sometimes that means going outside, sitting on a park bench for 2 hours in the middle of the day, doing absolutely nothing and loving every second of it. Sometimes it means I feel this intuitive hunch to contact this person and run a call with them or to pick up this book, right? So that living life in that way for me allows me to really live 2 days in one because I get the structure time in the morning, but in the afternoon is when I truly live and I capture this juice that reconnects me and realigns me with that inner current, which I can then take and fuel into my deep work sessions the following day. So I kind of create this loop of structured and unstructured time that really rubs off on one another and gives me more energy and more power and more creativity so I never run out. Because when I just do the structured time, then I end the day and I truly feel like my energy is depleted. But when I have structured time and unstructured time, then I end the day with more energy. And sometimes it's difficult to even get to bed at night because I have so much ammo and energy flowing through me as a result.
That's great. Yeah, I realized I need, because I hadn't given myself unstructured time in a long time. I mean, during the day, I do sometimes. Maybe I don't. I haven't been nearly enough. But Diana went to Miami, and I was like, I'm going to get all this work done, and I fucking did nothing for almost a week. And the first couple of days, I was fighting it. and judging myself. And then I thought, I don't resist this resistance. Maybe you're not supposed to do anything. And so I just gave over to it, and I relaxed and just enjoyed myself and went for walks. And, I'm in this beautiful little town. The nature here is incredible. And I realized at the end of that week that, that was exactly what I needed. And in fact, that I needed more of that, but I had to get over my mind. I had to get over Alex Hormozy, in my mind saying, get up off your ass and get to fucking work. It's like, that's not how I am. I'm more, I need that free time. And also because you got to let your mind wander. Like you have to kind of not know what's next, because then, and also be bored in a way. Like there's something about being bored or not knowing what's coming next that it pulls you into the present moment. In some way, structure is a way. It's good. Obviously, we need structure, but it's also a way that it kills spontaneity. It kills life to a degree. Anyway, it's really interesting, all that stuff. I mean, you're a young guy. You're tuned in. I know you're not, you pay attention to the world. I know you don't write about politics and the rest of it, but you have to have, I would assume, some kind of intuitive sense of what's going on and where we're at. I mean, I don't want to give you too much of a frame here, but there's the stories going on about Trump and Canada. You're in Canada, and there's all the stories, right? There's the reality show that's going on, and we get attached to that, and I get attached to that, and I love to scream and yell about it. It's fun. But there's something else going on underneath the surface that's really driving it, I think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that's what that is entirely comprehensible to us. Like we can't intellectualize it, but I think those of us who've done a lot of deep work, spent a lot of time in meditation and contemplation and inhabit these realms, let's say, like you can feel it. And it communicates to you, and you can kind of see things beyond the veil. And I know you're one of those people. What do you sense in this moment?
Yeah, what a beautiful question. Well, one, I just got to say, personally, I love Trump because he really has that presence that wakes people up, right? Like using that earlier example, the things that he does, the things that he says, and the way that he does them, like really snaps people out of the autopilotness and brings them back to life, whether they love the guy or hate the guy. I think he has a very strong impact on people in that way. And it's very beautiful because he's really bringing people back to life in a very profound and precious way. So I feel like there's something incredibly beautiful brewing here. I feel like even when I sense into this moment, I feel such power, like the power that is intrinsic in nature that has been welling up for centuries and centuries and centuries. And now the fucking dam is about to explode and fucking break through. And I think there's going to be a lot of fucking chaos. There's going to be a lot of change and transformation arising. But I think what it's leading to is going to be something so precious and so beautiful that it's going to be something that truly quenches mankind's deepest thirst and deepest longing and deepest desire. And I think we're in that brewing system currently. And I think Trump and politics and everything that's happening is almost happening by design. And there's a timing to it, and it's unfolding in a very particular and interesting way. And I remember even when I was a kid, I always felt like something big is going to happen in my lifetime that is going to completely change humanity, and it's going to completely turn the world upside down. What we took to be white is going to be black. What we took to be black is actually going to be white. And I feel like that is starting to happen. It's starting to brew. And that's what I sense. And I feel like we're in that process. And I also think the more we embody presence, it's almost like the more open you are, the more you start to become an early adopter of what's about to transpire before the rest of the world clues in, right? There's going to come a time where you can't escape what's going to happen. But early on, like in any industry, there's early adopters, people that sense where reality is going and they kind of open themselves up to it. And I think that's what's been happening for a very long time, where various people, different ages, different backgrounds, have been starting to sense and tune into this underlying presence of reality that is starting to unfold in a particular direction. And they started to come more alive. But this is a small indication of what I think the world is going to go through as a whole. And I think Trump was really on the cutting edge of actually shaking humanity from the deep sleep that they were in and actually waking them up to something deeper. And I think we're about to experience exactly what that is in the years to come.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get any argument out of me. I love Trump. Obviously, we've talked about this. I mean, the simple thing with Trump is he's fucking hilarious. That's it. That's the end of it. Like, you can't be that funny and not be really fucking smart, especially to be that funny in that circumstance, in those dynamics, dealing with what he's dealing with. And he still manages to maintain his sense of humor and his personality. And yeah, I agree with you. He's incredibly present. You feel him right there generally when nobody's perfectly present, but he's right there when he's talking and he's communicating, which is why it goes in. And of course, that's why people hate him so much, because if you are the agent of change, if you're the tip of the spear in some, I'm mixing metaphors here, but some, wave that is coming, that's going to be painful and it's going to be confusing. And whoever is doing that, making you feel that way, they're going to seem like evil or bad or, Hitler, whatever it is. That's how you're actually going to experience, but it's just your own resistance. It's your own pain. And I understand, or your own fear, which is why I think it's so important that people people do need to wake up. And I have a lot of compassion for the people who have TDS, who are just out of their mind in a rage because they don't understand what the fuck is going on. And fair enough. Right. Fair enough. If everything you've known and thought was sacred and good and right is, as you said, I do believe like the inversion is coming. And I see it now clearly. I mean, you see it everywhere. It's like, holy shit, what's up is down. Yeah. What's fucking left is right. Like, I was fucking living in illusion, and it's crazy. And that's a mind fuck that not everybody, I think, is going to necessarily quite survive, but it is happening. So I agree with you, and I don't know where it's going. But is you're 31. I don't hang around a lot of 31-year-olds anymore. Like, what is your generation like? Where are they at with all this?
Yeah. I mean, at a high level, keep in mind, I'm still in Canada. So
yeah,
where Canada's at. But it's really fascinating because even I've obviously received like, when you're an early adopter and you start to sense that right is left and left is right and up is down and down is up before the rest of the world clues in, you really get a lot of hate and a lot of negativity thrown at you, whether you want it or not, whether you even try to provoke it or not, right? Somebody asks you a question, you're like, all right, I'll be honest, like, hey, this is what I think. And you're like, boom, 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 especially here in Canada, right? So I've experienced a lot of that for sure. But one thing that I noticed, like you said, I think Trump really illuminates a lot of people's shadow and brings it to life. And it allows them, if they're aware enough, to actually recognize the shadow that is actually present, which is usually in the darkness, but Trump actually brings it into the light. So to me, anybody that gives you material to work on is actually doing you a huge favor.
He's a shaman.
Exactly. Exactly. Even his, like, as you were saying, his ability to use humor to crack through, like a true shaman. He knows how to play with the different potentials that are available. But as a whole, I noticed that even here in Canada, with my friend group, there's this inner rebellious force that is brewing, even in Canada, David, whether you believe it or not.
No, I believe it. It has to.
I know you're Canadian.
To.
I know you're Canadian. But there's like this inner force, and I feel like it's really brewing.
Sorry, I guess we got a delay. I was just going to say my cousins live in Saskatoon. They're younger. They're about your age, your generation, and yeah, they know what's up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really funny because even here in Canada, everybody that I talk to for the most part seems very clued in to like what's starting to happen and what's starting to unfold. Just when I log into Twitter, for instance, I see the complete opposite, right? Or another social media platform like Instagram or whatever it is, I start to see something different. So the people that I talk to, at least here in Canada, are really fed up with the way that things have transpired here. I've been in Vancouver my entire life. And from like 2019 to 2025, I started to get a sense in 2019 that they're trying to kill the city from the inside. I didn't know why they were doing it, but I'm like, they're purposely trying to destroy the city from the inside. I have no idea why or how, but that's what it feels like is happening. And I watched the city fucking die for the last 6 years, live in the flesh, every time I go on a walk.
It's
insane
sad.
What's happening here. Like I truly sensed it in 2019. It was like before COVID even happened. I feel like something was coming. They're trying to kill the city from the inside. And that's actually what ended up happening. Like Vancouver is a fraction of what it used to be. Even when you go out partying, which is supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to really sense the pulse of the city when you go out on a Friday night, Saturday night. You go out now, you feel like you're in a ghost town. You feel like the soul of the city has been stripped away and it's been taken. And the people are ready to actually get that soul back. Because I think the loss of the city is really pointing to the loss of one's soul on a deeper level. And I think that's really what's at stake here. And I think the people are actually starting to wake up to their true power. And I think that force that is guiding people is starting to actualize inside them. And that's what gets me so fired up to actually see what happens with the world and the state of affairs, because I think what's coming is going to be completely unlike anything that has occurred in the past. And it's going to be on the tip of true liberation.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic, hopeful. I feel like a friend of mine said to me, he's an astrologer. This was about 5 years ago. He's like, yeah, we're in a spiritual war, but the war has been won. The war is already won. And I was like, yeah, that feels true, but it still has to play out. We still have to go through it. And there's going to be a lot of chaos and probably a lot of destruction. But like, I'm holding like, no, it's already won because, you know, God wins. So that's just how it goes. I worked a lot in Vancouver, and I remember talking to a driver because everybody was talking about the home prices there, and because they were letting, Chinese just buy up all the property. And I was like, how do you feel like about that? Because a regular person can't live in the city. He's like, well, I don't want to be racist. I'm like, what the fuck? Is that racist? To think that you don't want a fucking foreigner buying land in your town? Like, I was just like, they're so brainwashed. They don't want to say anything.
Exactly.
It was so sad. And, another friend of mine who had a lot of money, he lived in a building, one of the skyscrapers, and he said it was empty. Like it was all bought, but nobody lived there.
Exactly. And that's
so
exactly what happened.
Yeah. And so, of course, it's, and obviously, if you owned a home before all that, you're really happy about it because now it's worth a lot of money. But the regular teacher, fireman, they can't live anywhere near downtown or in the city at all. And it's incredibly sad to see it happen. And Toronto, I know, is pretty much the same. Me and my wife get into this all the time. Diana. Is it a conscious conspiracy or an unconscious conspiracy? Or is it a combination of the two? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, it really makes me think because some days I'm like, it's all God's play, right? Because I feel like even if I apply it to my own journey and not the world, it's actually the discomfort and the pain and the, self-betrayal and all that has actually led to the greatest liberation for myself. Right. So I'm like, hey, like, if there was no suffering and there was no pain, there would be no desire to actually wake up to what's actually unfolding. So even though I feel like the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are the good guys, I do have a respect for the quote unquote bad guys, the real bad guys, not the ones that the media will tell you are bad. I do have some sort of respect for them because I feel like what they're doing, they're actually invoking one's pain and those emotions, and they're giving people the ability to actually work through them. For me, the definition of a distraction is anything that distracts you from presence. So if people are distracting one from presence, I view that as a distraction. And I think that is the greatest sin, is to forget one's own nature. So when I see people like this that, do various things in the world, it actually, if you allow it to, will activate your shadow, will activate the anger, will activate the rage. Like, fuck these people. Who the fuck does this guy think he is to buy up all the farmland and do this to the food and do that to that industry? It invokes something and it really brings people more to life. So on one level, I feel like God is so powerful that God can even play the role of various forces that are gonna, do X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, the masks, just like in Scooby-Doo, at the end of the show, they take off the masks and all is revealed. It was all just one big play. And a very deep level, I feel that to be true. I feel like God is always laughing. God is always playing. And just like a kid can watch a movie and take it to be a reality and get so caught up in the pain and the trauma and the fear, taking it to be the truth of what's actually happening. And an adult can watch the same movie and just be like, hey, that's just a movie. Like, it was all a part of the show and the adventure. I feel like God is like the parent in some aspects, right? It's all just some sort of play, and God has a very playful energy, and it unfolds in society. Of course, if you take it to be so true and so literal, you do experience pain, and I think that's a part of the show. But then, David, sometimes I look out into the world and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, it's fucking intense, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the game is so hardcore.
Yes.
I mean, I do some things, I have practices and, with the Native American traditions that are fucking hardcore. But it's just like a little bit. It's just to give you that sense of, I mean, it's everything you said, like what they understood and what all spiritual traditions understood is that in order to get to God, you have to suffer, because it's the suffering that burns away your pain. I mean, you have to do it consciously. We're not talking about repetitive suffering. We're talking about making a decision. I'm going to suffer and feel this pain and set myself free. But I do feel exactly how you feel, like the quote unquote, well, the bad guys from my perspective, they're doing a service. Like you can't do it without them. And it's so evil from my perspective that it's forced me to get closer to God. It's forced me to double down on my practices. It's forced me to tune in to what is real and let go of a lot of the illusions, the pettiness of my mind. I want this, I want that. Why don't I have this? And go, wait a minute, I've got it all. And who cares about any of that shit? As long as I'm fucking connected to God, everything is good. And I couldn't get there without this force of evil bearing down on me, because it's like, that's the only way to win. You're not going to defeat them at their own game. You've got to elevate the game. And the only way to do that is connecting to God. And I'm using the term God, but we could replace it with presence, because, when you're in presence, I don't care who the fuck you are, you feel God. It's right there. and you can describe it however you want it, but you open up to a field that is bigger than you, and you feel connected to everything and everyone, and then you realize like the power that you have and the illusion that you usually live in. So yes, all of this I think is helping us. It's helping us evolve to wherever the fuck we're going. Who knows? But it's happening. It's really exciting. But I guess it's going to be, I feel like what's my role right now? I'm sort of like getting into my wise man years. So I'm helping the younger men who are trying to understand it, understand what's going on inside them so they can be more free. But I guess for you'll be at the forefront of this next epoch, or what do they call it? The fourth turning. Like the next, whatever the next turning is.
What I told you over dinner that time still holds for me. I feel like you're going to play a critical role in what's about to transpire. You're going to be in the front lines, David. We need you on the front lines, leading the way.
Well, I am a psychopath. Leading the way. Yeah, I do have a lot of. If my aggression gets activated, I'm always ready for a fight. I love to fight. I always have. So if there's a fight that I feel called to, I will definitely engage. Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, no, I have more to say. I have more to do. Well, I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm attracted to you, drawn to you, is because you get it. At least, from my perspective, I don't mean it out there, but you get what it is that I'm saying and doing. And for a long time, I think I felt really alone in that. Like nobody around. I mean, I had a few little people, Angela and other people who'd done the work that I'd done. But I didn't have anybody to talk to. And I was, I would put out content and things, and it didn't always resonate. And then I had to figure out a way to say it to, help people understand what it was that I was saying, which I've done, and it's been a useful exercise. But it's very inspiring to talk to somebody who's like, okay, this guy's a young fucking guy. He's totally dialed in. He understands everything that I'm fucking talking about. And then he reflects it back to me in a way, like from his perspective, which has its own wisdom and flavor to it, which actually helps me as well. So it's really, I don't know. I'm really, I'm just glad you're here, and I'm glad we're connected, and I'm glad, you came on here today. We don't necessarily need to end it, but is there anything else? What else? I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about or that feels relevant to this conversation?
Yeah. One thing I'm really interested in unpacking is, obviously there's a corner of Twitter, right? Let's say the typical, guys that are leading the way. And I always notice, David, your tweets, by the way, are so fire. The way that you can tweet and just pull people out of their story is incredible. But usually what I notice is there's an anti-therapy bunch on Twitter, right? And they have certain good points, sure, right? They have amazing points in some aspects. But I feel like the work or life doesn't truly begin until you actually go through the stuff that is stored inside you and actually make it onto the other side and actually experience yourself anew and actually meet yourself for the first time again, right? So I think the way that you kind of present it and the way that you kind of challenge that notion is so incredible. So what I would like to discuss is, I particularly don't like the label therapy either, right? But what would you say to people that are quote unquote high performers that want to put a dent in the universe through business or through whatever, and they know that they're not truly feeling and experiencing themselves on a level that they're capable of, but they resist and they reject the modern notion of what they take therapy and all that jazz to be? How do you pull them out of that and bring them more into this world?
Well, it's a great question. That's what I'm trying to do. Listen, as you said, I understand why there's resistance to therapy. There's a lot of reasons for it. 85% of therapists are women, and I've had women therapists, and they've been incredible. That said, there was a place where they didn't really understand me, and the feminine tends towards, not exclusive, but tends towards nurturing and affirmation, and not enough towards the directional, which is what men need, particularly now, because you have a couple generations now of men who grew up without fathers or strong male role models. And then add to that, you have the school system, the university system that is infusing ideology into the therapeutic practice, which is, I don't even get it. It's why would you do that? It's like, it's an idea. Like, it's just another structure you're trying to rid them of structures. Like, don't put another one on. So there's something that gets distorted there. And so I understand the Matt Walshes of the world who just say, fuck it, these people are crazy and nobody gets better in therapy. And all they're doing is going and talking about their problems. They're not doing anything. What the case that I made for Tate was very simple. You're not present. And as we've discussed, presence is the most powerful quality that you can have in a human being. And the reason you're not present is because there's feelings inside you that terrify you. And you know that. Like, just be with me here, stay present, and just see if that's true. And he knows it's true, obviously. Right. And so that's most people. Most people have feelings that terrify them, and they don't slow down enough to think about it. And so we are governed by our unconscious emotions. And I think there's very few people that would argue with that if you really slow them down, they know, I know I act out in this way or do this thing. Like, I don't quite fully understand myself and fully understand my behavior. I'm not completely in command of myself, and I don't know why. I have never met anyone, when you have a real conversation with them, that doesn't have some aspect of that that they're wrestling with. And so you need somebody to reflect back to you your blind spots. You need somebody with skill, and you need somebody to lead you to where this behavior started in your childhood, the conclusions that you drew from that experience, the belief systems that you adapted for the purposes of safety. Like, you had no choice but to do that. But those beliefs and false conclusions become imprinted in your psyche in a way that you're not aware of. And then you're going out into the world and you're acting out. You're seeing everything from that place. That's why you have frustrations. And so it just seems obvious to me that you would want to understand that about yourself, to see the world more clearly, to see yourself more clearly, because you're going to be able to develop better strategies. And I just think that's, like, I understand. And the way that I practice therapy, I stopped doing long form therapy. Like, I don't see people I used to, year, 2 year, 3 years, every week, just keep mirroring back to them. But I don't really work that way anymore. I just try to help them build a map of their psyche. And I can usually do that it takes 4 to 8 sessions where they can really kind of see, okay, this is what happened. This is what I'm doing. This is why. This makes sense. They have to alleviate the shame around it, because that is also the problem. Once you start to go inside and see your own behavior, how unconscious it is, and to see the places where you withhold, you're arrogant, you're selfish, which we all have. You really confront the shadow. To really confront the shadow is a fucking scary thing, because you realize how dark you actually fucking are, like how capable of cruelty you are. And not only are you capable, you have inflicted it on people throughout your life, usually in subtle ways, but sometimes in overt. And to come to terms with that shadow part of us without going to shame is a big challenge. It's just why a lot of people resist therapy. But you have to know that lower self part of you is a defense. It was an adaptation, and it works in the shadows, literally, and it works in secret. And you have to be willing to forgive yourself for all of it. Otherwise you're bound by it. And that is no easy thing to do. And the process goes on for the rest of your life. Like it's not like you land someplace and then you're fixed. It's like, no, you have a framework now to look at your how you think and your actions in the world. And it's 100% when you come up against a new stressful situation, whether it's at work or in a relationship, and you are taken out of control by that situation, it's 100% you're going to act out from your defense. It's inevitable. But what you want to be able to do is catch it as soon as possible, see it for what it is, see the distortion, then go back, make the amends, figure it out, forgive yourself, and then move on. And I just think that ability, that skill, that self-awareness is, to me, it's like, what other superpower do you want?
Right.
That's a ninja shit, bro. And so to me, it's mandatory, which is what I kept kind of hammering on Tate. It's like, bro, and I'm sure we'll have another interview, but it's like, you're fucking powerful, but you could be more powerful.
I always loved, in an earlier conversation, you shared a story that has always stuck in my mind. And it's had such a remarkable impact on me that at one, I just wanted to thank you. But two, it speaks to this because it was the story of when you were working with, I think, a facilitator, I forgot her name, but you went into your murderous rage and you locked eyes with her and you knew that she wasn't afraid. She had seen this before. She didn't blink. She was unswayed. And that level of power, and I see it in you too, because like this conversation, things can just unfold in whatever way, and you're just right there because of the stuff that you have gone through and the stuff that you've experienced. So for me, it feels like as a man, at least for me, I've always been on this quest to truly be fearless, right? To actually live without fear. So if anything is in this moment that is giving me fear, the bravest thing that I have done is actually feel what I didn't want to feel. That's been the most courageous thing that I have ever done as a man, is actually experience the stuff that I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel this emotion that is here, that's fucking with me. I don't want to feel it, but now let me feel it. That's courage. And that has opened up a completely new world for me, where then I can actually, business feels like a walk in the park after that. You know, something goes wrong in business, you're like, bro, based on what was happening on the couch, this is light work, right? But I just wanted to bring that story to mind because that visual has always stuck with me, because even though I wasn't there, I feel like I can sense the presence of the facilitator and the impact that it had on your consciousness. And that always comes to mind when I'm in the unknown and I'm unsteady and I'm on the ropes and I'm, wondering, is this too much for me to feel? So I source support from that story that you shared to go deeper within myself.
No, I can still see her eyes in my head right now. I'll never forget that moment. I was, the invitation through her presence was, and the lack of fear in her eyes was like, I can hold you to go all the way there. And I didn't think that was possible. I didn't even know what that meant or what it looked like in the moment, but I had an intuition. I knew it was big. I knew there was whatever the energy was inside me was, it terrified me. But she gave me permission to go all the way into it. And I felt my murderous rage, and it changed. Not only felt it, but I acted out on it, obviously in a conscious way, in a controlled environment through a psychodrama. But it was the realest thing that I'd ever experienced. It was a construct, but I was dissolved in it, completely present all the way through it. And when I came out of it, everything changed, obviously. And it took me right to the heart of my pain. And that's when I really understood how energy, how emotions, and therefore reality works, is if you go into the darkest place, we know this, you get to the light, you got to go through the dark, but there's a mechanism that actually works where if you go all the way into the resistance, the murderous rage. And what is it that you're trying to kill? You're trying to kill that makes you feel the pain that you don't want to feel. I'm going to kill I don't want to kill this thing that's making me feel this way. And we kill it in all kinds of ways. But in this case, I went into the purest way, like actually acting out a kind of murder and torture. And once I let all of that energy out, which took a while, was extremely physical, so that I was spent. And now I'm rolling around on the floor like a wounded animal or something, making all these sounds. I know where I am, but I don't know where I am. And then, she did this little thing, laid me down. And anyway, I ended up like bawling, like sobbing from my balls, like my whole body shaking. And the relief, it went on forever. It felt like, and just the release of those tears, I was 35 years old and you're having a shake cry. It goes on and on and on and on in the middle of a room, and there's like 25 people around you. And then they all came close and they're looking down at me like I'm a little baby. And yeah, I'll never forget it. But and then once that pain had been released, I sat up and I looked around, and it was everything looked fresh and new. And I felt nothing but love for myself and for everyone. And I felt connected to everything and everyone. But it really helped me understand this mechanism that underneath our darkness is the pain that we don't want to feel. And so when I see somebody acting out from that place, being an asshole, being aggressive, like doing bad things, like I can't not see that underneath that's a person who's in a lot of fucking pain, and they're still responsible for what they've done. But it just feels like it's important information for us to know about other people, but specifically about ourselves, as I said earlier, like, because when you understand that your bad behavior is in all bad behavior is really a defense against your pain and fear, it's like you can begin to let yourself off the hook. And then, of course, the antidote is exactly what you said. I mean, I got to this place, and I feel that way. I feel like there's nothing, I can't really be fazed by somebody's feelings, like whatever they are. Like I've been in rooms countless years watching people go through all of it. And I trained to be with it. Is you just have to, you have to do things that scare you over and over and over again until you get used to it. It's really that simple. I say this all the time to my clients. It's just practice. It's just practice. You want to get good at jujitsu? You got to show up at jujitsu class. You got to get on the mat over and over and over and over and over and over again for years. And then one day you're going to be like, you know what? I'm good at jujitsu. It's in my body. I know how to do this. It's the same principle that I apply, and the more you put yourself in these, and it's different for everybody. Everybody's got their own fear but if you make a list of what am I afraid to do? What are risks for me, and write it out. And you start doing those things and checking off the boxes one by one, and you make that part of your practice, and you do that over 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you're going to come out the other side a fucking beast. And there's not going to be a lot that's going to scare you.
Dude, just hearing that fucking got me juiced with fucking real. It's like this your ability to communicate this underlining depth is so precious and so profound, and you do it with such ease and lightness. That balance between the two, I know I mentioned that before, but that balance between the two is remarkable to witness.
Well, thank you. But I want to say this too. It's fun. It's
Right.
it's like what's more fun than that? What's more fun than confronting your fear? I understand that it's scary. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there's a story. When I was in a sweat lodge and we got in, the rocks were already in. It was fucking hot, bro. Already, they're not even pouring water because the lodge gets hot when they close the door and they start pouring water. But when you get out of the lodge and the rocks are it's already like, I don't know if I can fucking take it. And we haven't even started. You feel everybody in the lodge like, oh fuck, and we didn't know who the water pour was. Was he going to be cool? Not like you don't know what the fuck is going on. You don't know how long you're going to be in there. I mean that there it is right there, right? Like I don't have control, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's like the scariest, and I know massive discomfort is coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the best. I mean, it's for now, I know it's the best because I'm used to it. But I used to freak the fuck out and I'd just be holding on in there. But there's a dude beside me and he started freaking out. And he was like, I think I need to get out. He was like some German guy. And the lodge poor is like, nobody's getting out, which is, they'll let you out. But he was like, this was a special kind of ceremony and he had signed up for it. And so he's like, nobody's getting out. And then he said to him, just focus on your favorite toy as a child. Focus on that, gave some weird advice, but although it would have worked. And so we closed the door, did the lodge. It was hot as fuck. We all barely got through it. But when this kid got out, he was joyous.
Wow.
He was bouncing up and down, like big smile on his face, right? Now, had that lodge pourer let him out, which would have been the quote unquote nice thing to do, that kid would have been robbed of that experience. So what's the point I'm making? To face your fears, there's a kind of cruelty in it. Like to face, you have to, what he did on one level was cruel. But it liberated this guy. He'll never be the same. He'll never be that scared in a lodge again. And the next time he's going to go in, it's like, I got this. Nothing's going to be fucking worse than that. And so there's something also, I guess, not just about facing your fears. It's about embracing the fact that life is fucking cruel and you can take it.
That's the bar, and you can take it.
And it's good for you. Not unconscious, repetitive cruelty, but sometimes, what Trump is doing, there is a way that what he and Elon are doing, it is cruel from one perspective.
Right.
But it's necessary. And we have to, and some people don't want to feel that. But that's like, once I learned, it's like, I got to tolerate some cruelty sometimes. Like even from my wife, sometimes she's fucking cruel to me because she's active, and sometimes I'm cruel to her. Not like we're assholes. It's usually just more withdraw. It's just mood, right?
Right.
But it's like what I've learned in the relationship, because I want to be like, go fuck yourself. I want to react and say what you're doing is bad and you should not do that. You're my wife. Be a good wife. But I take it. I'm just like, okay. And because I can. And I also know, why is she being cruel? Because she's hurt. And it probably has nothing to do with me. It's probably something from her history. Something's being acted. Maybe it has something to do with me, but if she wants to tell me, she can tell me. But it's actually not, that cruelty coming at me is not about me. And so can I hold that? Like, can I see her in that place and tolerate it? Because if I do, and I don't react, what happens is she drops it instantly.
Fascinating.
But listen, Tej, it took me a while because the victim in me was like, fuck you. Right. I didn't want it. And then I was like, no, man, part of being married is like, she's a human being and she's got cruelty in her. And guess where that cruelty is going to be discharged? on the person who's with her most of the time. And it goes both ways. I can be cruel to her as well. And there's a way that she has to, like, you know, take it, deal with it. It's like, this is just what relationship is. And there's something in that. There's a freedom in that, because I'm not bound by being good. I don't want to be good all the time. Not in the Canadian way. Like, I have to be good. It's like, I'm not good. I'm bad sometimes. And I have a shadow and it acts out, and I could be a motherfucker. And I want access to my darkness. I don't want to eradicate my shadow. My shadow comes in handy, and sometimes it serves a purpose. And by the way, sometimes that cruelty, it's like it cracks people open. And that's what I realized. Right. Even like, so like, if she says something to me that's like hurtful or cruel, well, maybe, why am I so sensitive there? Like, why did that get to me? Maybe there's something like I have to like deal with inside me. Even, you know, she wasn't nice about it, but nevertheless, it's like there's something to learn there for me, and which, you know, it takes you to like radical self-responsibility. So this is like a thing that I'm really kind of playing with as I get older, because I see it because I see, you know, you go back and watch all these John Wayne movies, and Trump is essentially John Wayne 2.0. It's the same fucking energy, which is there's some bad people that nobody knows how to deal with, and they're creating chaos in this town. And John Wayne rolls in, and they're like, oh my God, you need to help us. And then he proceeds to help them. But they're like, not like that. That's right. Like, you're really mean. Like, can't you do it in a nice way? And he's just like, and he just, you know, what he understands is that it's too much for them to handle. Like that most people don't want to actually face the raw reality of what life is. It's too much to bear. But there's certain people that can. And those people must act from the leadership, knowing that the vast majority of the population are not going to understand or see it. They're only going to see the cruelty because they can't face it. And so I guess in some way that's like what I'm trying to become, you know, like hold myself in this place where I like to come into the starkness and the brutality that is reality, and be able to be with it and not blink. But also not have it make me cynical, like to see the beauty and perfection in all of it, including the cruelty, including the unfairness, including the brutality, and that it's all just part of it. And sometimes it comes at me and I got to deal with it. And this is what life is. And I don't know, like, to me, that's where I've discovered that God lives. God is not like nice. Like, the force of God is all of this existence, which is, as I said earlier, super fucking intense. I don't believe in death. So that's also helps.
Right.
People die. It's like, no, they're over there now. Like, I've never understood death, like people being upset. I don't know why. I don't like see people on the other side, but I'm just like, I don't know. My dad died. He's like, but he's right here. Like it's not that I see him, but I'm like, I can feel him. I can talk to him. Like, I can hear him answer back. So also it's like when you have that point of view, it changes the way you play the game, obviously, because you realize the game never ends.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating. One, related to what you just mentioned about death, I feel absolutely the same way. I think that perspective actually allows you to play the game in the most truest sense, because you can actually use that as fuel to go truly full throttle, because you realize that there is no escape from yourself. When I realized that I couldn't run away from myself and I had to eventually face myself and feel what I don't want to feel because there is no escape, that's when it really started to click and unfold for me. Right. So like earlier, when you said, you're fully on this journey of healing, I was like, bro, there's no fucking choice.
Yeah, there's no choice.
There's no choice. If I truly want to experience the glory of God, there is no choice. And eventually I'm going to have to make the choice. So why not make the choice today?
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? It's beautiful. It's, if people get anything out of this conversation, I mean, there's going to get a lot of things out of this conversation, but I that's the thing I feel like I want to, for some reason, like narrow in on. It's like, if you have an inkling, if you're listening and you have an inkling that like, I want to go do something different. I want to sign up for therapy or go do a breathwork class. I want to like investigate that, like go for it. Like just listen to that voice. There is a world that will open up to you that you cannot understand through reading a book. It has to be experiential. You have to go into it. And I understand there's a lot of bad people out there, a lot of bad therapists, a lot of bad practitioners, and it's easy to get burned. So like, don't give up if you don't, the first class or whatever it is you do, workshop isn't great. Like there's good people out there and you'll find them, because what, we're talking about here to me it's the most important thing. Obviously I have a bias, but it's like at the source of everything. And I saw in your latest newsletter that you're talking about, you want to be working with more influential people, like CEOs. And I have an intuition that that's where it's going, right? Like that the more conscious, I mean, Trump's not going there. Right. But JD Vance might. I could see JD Vance fucking coming to one of my workshops and hitting the block and fucking screaming and yelling, going to a breathwork class and crying about his absent father. It's coming. It's coming. And those people are going to meet the world in such a different way. And so, this is where it's going, people. You're going to get left behind. That's the other thing I want to say. I don't want to strike fear in people, but that is what I believe. Like, if you don't get ahead of this, you are going to get left behind. Forget AI. Yeah, learn how to fucking make money, all of that. Get your skills in order. But this part of it, that's actually what you want to be focused on. Because as I said, this is this is something else. And the reality show that this level, it'll take care of itself if you take care of what's underneath.
So beautifully said. I couldn't agree more with every single word that just came out of your mind, out of your mouth. I also noticed that I personally feel like the impact that you have on my consciousness is like so precious and so profound that even I want to, like, I'm curious. I want to join your programs, man. I want to actually experience it in person.
Yeah, it's so potent, man.
It's so potent. I'm down. Yeah, I want to run that this year.
One of my workshops. Yeah, come to one of my workshops. I got one in a couple of weeks, then I'll have another one in the fall. But yeah, they're really simple, but they're I mean, listen, it depends. Yeah, but you can go right. with the invitation, because people are like, if you've never felt before, like you have, but right. It depends. You have to meet people where they're at, but the potentiality is there. We can go wherever the fuck you want to go. Like as deep as you want to go, like and that's what's exciting, and particularly to do it in a group, and it's very dynamic, it's very alive. Yeah, man, come sometime, and if you're listening, come, because it's good to hit a block and fucking scream and tell your dad to go fuck himself. Tell your mom she's a bitch. Or whatever it is you want to do, like whatever it is you want to get out, all this shit that you've been holding back, all the things that you're afraid to say, that you feel shame or judgment about, and things that are known and unknown. Because I promise you, once you go there, there's a lot of things that come up that you don't fucking know, and there's things underneath that that always surprise you. I mean, still to this day, like if I'm still learning, I'm still figuring it out, there's always new things, but it's terrifying, certainly, because it's scary to feel, but it's, as I said earlier, and I mean this sincerely, it's a lot of fun. it's a lot of like, and then you're like, what is more fun than this? Like, I'm going to play this game where anything can happen. I don't have to hold back anything in this room for this weekend or this week. I don't have to hold back anything. What does that even mean? When that invitation, you don't have to hold back. It's like, okay, that sounds good, but also like, what does that mean? It also sounds scary. And what I'm going to be doing is trying to like, figure out the ways or help you see the ways that you are holding back and try to have you bring it out. But of course it's scary to bring it out because there's a reason that you're holding it back, because you got really, really, really hurt there. And so it's really all that. And then, it's not just primal therapy. There's a structure to it. There's an intelligence to it. But ultimately it's exactly what you said. It all comes back to presence. We're just trying to help people get present in the moment, undo their programming. And the way that we help them undo it is to release all of these emotions and feelings that they've been holding on to their entire lives.
Beautiful. And what you said is so precious. You're like, dude, what else is there to do? I truly feel
that's
that.
how I feel. I'm biased. That. Yeah. I'm biased.
I agree with you. Especially when you see the bigger picture and how this may just be one page in an infinite book, and how there's the potential to actually collect. I'll speak for myself. I spent the bulk of my life collecting temporary W's that don't really go with me once this video game is over, but there is potential, I believe, to collect what I call eternal W's. And that's truly what is at stake here. And I think that is such a precious gift. And the way that you speak about it really gets me fucking fired up. So I'm like, dude, let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, no, I'm glad. Well, it goes. I'm getting fired up because of all the things that you're saying, and I feel met, I feel seen, I feel understood. So this doesn't happen to me that often. I'm always trying to be careful and measured about what I say, like hoping that people understand. So I really appreciate talking to you, man. Yeah, you evoke something in me and allow me to communicate what it is that what I'm thinking and feeling. And because I don't know, you get it. You're a receptive audience. So thank you, man. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for coming on. We'll have to do it again, and I'll see you soon, I hope.
Absolutely. I can't wait to have another dinner with you and just unpack the magic of life.